Souls on Tap. I'm Julianne Thon.
And I'm Jennifer Cross.
Today, we'd like to welcome Ner Own, who is a psychic medium who helps to guide people to clarity and is also the creator of a beginner's tarot guide, which is a digital guide that teaches how to read tarot cards efficiently and effectively. Ner has encountered 4 near-death experiences, which she will be sharing with us today. Welcome to our podcast, Ner.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Julianne and Jen. It's so great to meet with you guys and talk to you about this experience.
Our pleasure.
We're so happy to have you. So, you just have a multitude of gifts. I did say something in the introduction about you being a psychic medium, but I'd like, first of all, for you to clarify that.
So I don't actually classify myself as psychic, medium, or anything like that because, as you mentioned, I do have a lot of gifts. Some that I'm still exploring, some that are still developing. So for the overall classification, yes, psychic medium. But there's so much more that I do. The biggest thing is I guide people towards clarity. So whether that's I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my business, my career, my love life. I want to know something that happened between a past loved one and I, or I want to get connected to my own guides, have my own spiritual journey. I help people get to those points. I help them understand why they can't feel certain things inside. And I do that with my intuitive gifts. So that's why I say, like, psychic is okay, but I feel like there's also so much more to me as well.
Right. That's the thing, is that labels just don't really do it for us, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
We would love to take you through each experience in terms of your near-death experiences. And we want to explore not only what happened, but how you and your life changed as a result. But before we do that, can you give us a little background as to what your life was like prior to your first near-death experience?
Sure. So, I am originally from Miami, Florida, Dade County 305. And I had a pretty good life growing up. I was raised in a very religious household from a single parent. And I have a Caribbean background, so definitely very much into the religion. And so my mother always said that I don't listen to myself because I will tell you anytime that I had a friend or a situation, I would tell her how it would end. And I was always right. And so I just chalked it up to woman's intuition and that I just wasn't listening to myself. Um,
You mean
as
you weren't recognizing that you had this gift?
No. No,
Okay.
because as I grew up in the church, right? I wouldn't say that the church said that psychics, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, weren't real, but more so to stay away from it. It's witchcraft, it's bad.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's how I took it. Now, I always looked at astrology horoscopes. Um, and I was just always interested in it because I always said I've never read a horoscope that didn't describe me, a Virgo, by the way, that didn't describe me to the T. And again, I've just always been interested in that, even though, as my mom has said, that that stuff is demonic. And so that's why I said, like, I just kind of stayed away from that stuff. So much so that even when I was in my early 20s, I went and did missions trips. I was very involved in church. And yeah, I was just very involved in church, to be honest, growing up. But I started to see little things, like I said, in my life. I was even just talking with a friend today. I was like, everybody has always told me my life should be, recorded like a reality show because I've just always had these really dramatic moments and nobody could ever explain why. Um, and I know we'll get into that. But yeah, just growing up, life was good. I always knew stuff about people before I met them, before maybe our friendship or relationship ended. And I just was like, oh, I'm just a good judge of character or, woman's intuition. That's kind of how it was branded until maybe a few years before my near-death experience. And, I started my tarot card journey.
Why don't you tell us about that first one, that first near-death experience, and go through the details? What happened there?
Yeah, we're all like
Yeah, I know.
All right, so it was 2020, COVID, everything, summer of 2020 to be honest. And I want to rewind just a quick second. So right before 2020, it was like 2019, November. I was looking to buy a house. I felt, okay, now's the time. Let me buy a house. And I found out that I could only afford a house that was like $100,000. Now, I live in a very high cost of living place, and I was like, I'm never going to buy a house now. But then, COVID happened. And so I started again to look for a house because I had stopped. And I want to say this was like maybe 6 months later because we're going to talk about June 2020. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to find a house. So I finally found a condo in an area where I live, and I put my money down. And I put my earnest money deposit down. And because I was a first time home buyer, the city had all these programs. So it was going to be great. I was so excited. I was like, finally, I'm going to be a homeowner. Um, well, the next, I think it was the next week, to be honest, I got carjacked. And for those who don't know what carjacking is, it's basically auto theft, but by force. When I was carjacked, I didn't know what was happening. Um, I was at a red light and these people just came behind me and hit me like a regular fender bender. I got out the car, not thinking anything like, oh, it's just a fender bender, like not a big deal, but you're going to pay for my car. So I had a nice little BMW and I was like, you're going to fix this, right?
Yeah.
So quickly I took a picture of the three men that walked out of the car. I don't know why I did this, but this is another thing that, like I said, like certain things just
Hmm.
happen. So I took a picture of the three men that walked out the car, and it was very slick, like very underhanded how I took a picture. And just, we're going to keep a mental note for that. So, long story short, they come up to me and they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Please don't call the police. And these people were teenagers. They were like, don't call the police. We don't want to go to jail. And I was like, well, the car already called the police and let them know my location. So they actually left. They left the scene of the crime, essentially. They came back. I don't know why. And when they came back, um, they kind of got close to my car. I had moved my car to the side of the street, waiting for the police to come. And the guy, one of them was like coming at me like, oh, we're so sorry, miss. Like, please don't call the police. Like, why do you have to call the police? And without warning, obviously, bam, I get punched in the face. I kind of did one of these where I hit the car on the right side and then fell on the left side because he hit me on the left side of my face. And again, that's another keynote, the left side. So I fell down, hit my head on the concrete. I don't know how I did this. I got up and I ran after my car. Don't ask me why I did that. I don't know, but I don't even remember it. So nevertheless, I think when I
Well, I
came to,
mean, my God, it was a BMW.
I know, right? And it was a coupe, so it was pretty fast. So yeah, fight or flight. But I don't even remember getting knocked in the head. I don't remember falling down. Um, but I know I ran after the car because there were actually a lot of people around. This was in broad daylight in a very well lit area. I mean, it was rush hour for God's sake. I don't know why they did this. They were so dumb. But anyways, the police come and do their thing. They end up telling me that the car actually crashed in another area. It was totaled, and I freaked out. Because again, this car was actually a gift to myself when I graduated with my master's degree. So this car was my baby.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I was distraught, but I was also scared because if those of you who are listening have never been in a situation where you have a totaled car, you still owe on your car, you still have to pay the car. The insurance may pay, I think, what they feel the car is worth, but you still owe the balance.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was nervous because all my money just went to this house that I had just put literally my earnest money deposit. I'm waiting for the home to be built. And I'm like, shoot, am I going to have to pay for my car? Well, it all worked out. I ended up getting a significant amount back because it was COVID, right? So remember, cars were actually valued, I think, less or more. I'm not sure, but I got a lot back. anyways, this was my first experience with losing consciousness and not remembering, not feeling. And it just happened in such a random way, which I now know it was not random. This all led me to buying my first actual single family home. And
Can
I
we
would have,
can we back up just a little bit? Did you say you lost consciousness
yes,
when you were okay?
I was
So
okay. Yes,
is that the time that your first near death experience happened, would you say?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to be able to explain what happened, what you saw time?
So unfortunately, it wasn't like a big, oh my gosh, I met Jesus. I went into the cosmos. I don't have one of those stories. What it did though was wake me up to realizing that there is something else out there. And I think as I go on, what I've noticed is that I probably wouldn't have been able to realize that something else was out there because I was too closed off. My mind, my heart, nothing was awakened yet. Um, and so even if I would have had some type of vision or whatnot, I wouldn't have known what it was that I was feeling. Because I will tell you, to this day, I'm still wondering all the time if I'm crazy. um, I'm wondering if what I'm experiencing, feeling is real. Um, but you know, my clients validate me. Sometimes I don't even know them, and they tell me like I'm spot on. So I was like, this is real. It is real. So that's why I say taking that picture of those guides, I will tell you, was I'm one of the few people in this area that got carjacked and they were able to prosecute them. They said it's a very hard crime to prosecute.
Good for
Had
you.
yeah, had I not taken that picture, they may not have been able to prosecute because when they picked them up, they were still wearing the same outfit. I don't understand the law. I don't know why it would have been difficult, but they did tell me like if I didn't have that picture, they wouldn't have been able to prosecute them. So they did go to jail, um, and all that, and that was great. But that's where I say like there was something else happening. Even me still getting up after losing consciousness after they punched me.
Right.
I can't explain it, but I know I was protected during that time.
You could
And
have died.
yeah, because
That's how hard you hit. Yeah.
the way they hit me, it's like I didn't even feel it until maybe a few days later, right? And modern science would tell you fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You also have protectors out there
Mm-hmm.
because who gets out of a car at a fender bender and takes a picture of the people? You know, I didn't even take a picture of my car. I took a picture of the people. So who does that, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and at the time, I didn't know why I did that. Uh, I didn't understand it, but I believe that my guides were protecting me at that time. Um, so yeah, so I was able to do really well after that. Everything worked out. I was able to buy another house, a new house. Um, and yeah, I was great after that until 9 months later.
Mm.
Nine
Are
months
are we
later.
in near death experience number two?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Um, so okay, I get a new job, I move into my home, and I'm like, "Ah, great." And some people would say, how can you even drive after that, right? Um, I don't know. I guess I'm very resilient. I'm always gonna keep going. Nothing's gonna keep me down. So I was driving home one night from a party, and there was a guy on the wrong side of the road. I turned the corner. I don't even know what happened. My car spun around. I was essentially T-boned because he was on the wrong side and then came straight at me.
Oh no.
Um, all the airbags came out on the left side of
Uh-huh.
the car. And again, the people that were with me said I was talking. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the ambulance. I don't remember a thing. I was unconscious. And as the days went by, I was told that I had a concussion. And even in the last incident, they diagnosed me with a concussion as well, too. So I've had now, at this point, 2 concussions. I've also had 2 totaled cars in 2 years after living in Miami, Florida, and never having an accident. So I was like, okay, hold on a second. I can't just have this bad luck. So that's when I started seeking out some help and figuring out what was going on, because I'm now losing consciousness so much. I'm getting hit, you know, physically and figuratively and literally. I'm getting hit, and something was amiss.
So is this
What were you thinking though? Like, why did you think it wasn't bad luck? Just because you lived?
The left side of my body was affected after this with the concussion, after the drunk driving accident, and also being hit with the carjacking. I don't know. Something was pushing me to say that there's something more. Like, yeah, you can have bad luck, but I will tell you, I actually did not have bad luck. Previously, before, I've always done really well. I've been pretty successful in my life. I've had a good group of friends. I've just done really well. Like, I've had a really good life. I'm very thankful for that. Yeah, I have my struggles like anybody else, but it's not like I had bad luck. In fact, I always said that, things always turned around for good. So that's why I said, like, even with the carjacking, yeah, my car was totaled, but I wouldn't have been able to buy a home.
Yeah.
Um, I also got my dream job after the carjacking. So there was just so much that I always say, like, something else is coming, something's good. So with that second experience, that's when I started to seek out some spiritual help. I actually went to a psychic, or shaman is what she calls herself. And I said, hey, like, what's going on? But, I guess in the Christian part of me, I prayed, I asked God, I didn't receive an answer. It was just more so like, well, I saved you. You're alive. Like, that's a blessing. And
right?
and I said, I mean, that's true, but there's something else. There has to be something else. Um, so yeah, so that was the second one, and I started to seek out some more knowledge to see if there was something else.
So what did you do?
Um, so this lady, I met her through a friend, and she actually asked me, if someone had, before this, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. She told me that I wouldn't have any more car trouble. She said, yeah, it was just the bad accident, nothing wrong with it. And fast forward a year later, I had a and this is not a near death experience, but this was something that was the catalyst to why I did so much later with my spiritual side. Um, I had a boyfriend who, oh gosh, I really loved him. He was just amazing. And we didn't really have like a disagreement or an argument, but he literally woke up one day and just broke up with me. Um, so much so that I was distraught. And if you know me, I'm a little bit cocky. And I always think if someone breaks up with me or if I break up with them, well, it's your problem. Like, I'll find someone else. And this person I couldn't shake. In fact, I started to hear voices right after this. Now, mind you, I got hit twice in the head and I never heard no voices. Okay. But all of a sudden this boy breaks up with me and I hear voices. Um, so, fast forward a little bit more, I contact my shaman lady again and I say, hey, listen, this is what's happening. I'm hearing voices. They're telling me to kill myself. And I've prayed, I've listened to gospel music. I don't know what to do. Like, what's going on? And that's when she let me know that someone had done voodoo on me. I was like, voodoo's not real. Spirits and Santeria and all that is not real. At least that's what I learned in the church, right? And so, fast forward, I have my third experience. And this one was a little bit interesting in the sense that it's not that I had a near-death experience, but I almost did succumb to those voices. There would be times I would be driving and I would almost feel like I wasn't in control of the car. And I would rev the car up really fast as if I'm going to go into something, go into a ditch, something. And I didn't. Something would stop me, like right at the moment, right? And I'm already a fast driver, so that's not like a huge thing. But to think that I should go into a wall, go into something was very odd. So that's where I say she pretty much healed me from those voices. And I guess, again, modern medicine has a way to explain away all these things, right? So I went to therapists, I went to psychiatrists, and I explained to them what happened. And I asked them, can you hear voices and it goes away? And I will tell you, I'm in my 30s at this point. And from what I understand, when these things happen, they usually happen like in your early 20s, right? Like if you're going to hear voices and hallucinate, if it's a type of mental illness, it typically follows a certain pattern that shows up in your early 20s.
Some,
It doesn't
some,
show,
some it shows up a little later in the 30s or
yes,
so, but there's the early adult
right.
onset for some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had never had a history of that. Not only that, it went away overnight with
Well,
no,
you had the shaman helping you to
right,
get rid of it, right? Yeah.
right. But here, remember, I'm still a little skeptical. I'm still not thinking what's actually
Mm.
going on. Um, so the Virgo in me is a little bit stubborn because I always think I'm right. But I think this fourth experience and this all happened in 4 years. I think this fourth experience was what made me realize something is up. And it was almost like my gifts came to me all at once after. So what ended up happening is I had froze my eggs. And it's not that I wanted to have a baby or anything, but just protection. And when you do that, you get pumped with a lot of estrogen. And I may have signed some papers that say, there's a risk of blood clots or whatever. Do we read these things? No. But whatever. So I go and I do that. And then I go across the pond to go see Beyonce in London. So this is 2023. And I see Beyonce, was it 2023? Yeah, 2023. Had to think about that. Sorry. I go see Beyonce in London. So, I took a long flight. I come back and I have a plastic surgery procedure, and all goes well. I wake up in the recovery room. I mean, the surgery was about 7 hours. It felt like I had been hit by a truck. Like it was crazy. And mind you, froze my eggs, went to London for about a month and came back, had lipo within that same month. It was pretty insane. So of course, this story couldn't happen in a non-divine way. So I got to tell you how it all lines up. So about a week after the plastic surgery, I see my left hand. If you could see this, can't really see my veins, right? But at the time, my vein here was popped up and it was black. And just a side note, this is my left side. So it was black. And so something in me said, go to the hospital. I hate the hospital. I hate the ER. In fact, you spend all day there and then nothing happens. So I don't know why my body said that. So I went and I said to them, I can't breathe, but I have asthma. And I said, but my vein is popping out. And so they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, okay, so you came because your vein's popping out? And I was like, yeah, that's it. And so I was actually in the hospital in, like the emergency room area for about 9 or 10 hours.
Oh my God.
I know, horrible.
I've been there, done that.
Right. So I've been there for about 9 or 10 hours, and then I finally get seen by this nurse practitioner, and she tells me that I have phlebitis.
Oh,
And if you guys don't know, I have a background in nursing. So again, don't know why. But I told her to test my D dimer level. And for those who are listening, if you know or don't know, your D dimer level tests you to see if you have blood clots. I don't know why I said that. Like, I genuinely don't know. Because, like I said, I went to the hospital and I told them I can't breathe, but I hadn't been taking my asthma medication, which I will tell you, all my doctors will be like, yeah, that's Ner. Like,
That,
that's how
yeah.
she is. She doesn't take her medicine. Um, and a blackened vein is to be honest, would not have made me think of anything. So to go to the emergency room, again, very divine. So she's like, yeah, you have phlebitis. It's nothing wrong. And phlebitis, again, for those who don't know, is essentially your vein is just bruised from IVs. And remember, I had the egg freezing thing. I also did an IV in London because you drink too much, you have too much fun. And then I came back and I had my plastic surgery procedure. And so I had different IVs in me at different times. So I'm screaming at this point at the hospital because they're telling me nothing's wrong. And I was so out of it because I came later to find out I lost a lot of blood during my plastic surgery procedure. And you guys, I will tell you exactly where things got a little crazy. So I scream at her to take the D dimer level. Security's like, you need to calm down. My uncle's like, chill out. Like, why are you going off on this lady? And I'm like, oh, if they don't think it's serious, then I'm not going to take it serious. Write it down in my chart that you're not going to take this and F that. Very not like me. Um, they finally take my blood. They go and test my D dimer level, but not before I actually left the hospital. I didn't even sign the paper that says I'm leaving against medical advice. They told me they were going to bring it and I left. I was like, F y'all, like I'm done. I go home and this is now maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Go home, go to sleep. Or before I go to sleep, I turn my phone off because I was like, I don't want anybody bothering me because I hadn't slept. The garbage truck got to my house around 7 a.m. and my bedroom faces the street. And it woke me up, which I was pissed because, again, I hadn't slept. So I look at my phone and guess who's leaving me a message? The hospital, telling me that my D dimer level is like 15 something and that I need to come to the hospital now.
What does 15 mean?
It just means you have blood clots or the
Okay.
suspected blood clots because
Okay.
there's other ways to verify, but that's pretty alarming. Your D dimer level should be 0. So 15 is significantly high. So I'm like freaking out because I mean, I haven't done anything in nursing for about 15 years at that point. I'm in tech now. So I was just like, okay, so I have blood clots. What does that mean? Like, am I going to be okay? Drive to the hospital. Within an hour, I go into cardiac arrest. Had I not woken up, the garbage truck woken me up, I would have been in cardiac arrest at home. My uncle was downstairs. He was asleep too, because of course we had been up all night. So here's the kicker. Where were all my blood clots? Left side of my lungs. Heart is on the left side, and I had a DVT as well. So it's DVT, which is a deep vein thrombosis, blood clots in the leg, traveled up to my lungs. And I had clots in both lungs, but I had the most on this side. And that was, I would say, my complete first or last, hopefully, near-death experience because I was not breathing, heart was stopped, everything was done for about 47 seconds. Had I not been in the hospital when that happened, I may not be here today.
So these are less near-death experiences, which typically the individual loses consciousness and then they do experience an ethereal kind of a thing where they go to the other side. What you're talking about sounds to me, which is amazing, like you had these serendipitous moments that your guides were able to take you to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Extreme
Dream.
serendipitous
Right, like
moments.
you're going to do this now, and I know something about that because I've had a few
Mhm.
life-saving moments like that for myself and others. But this is amazing because really it teaches us the importance of listening to your guides. And if you don't want to call them guides, if you have a big ego and you want to say it's you, fine. But if you hear that voice, pay attention.
Yes. Yes. And I will say, in that experience at the hospital, of course, they took my blood. And if you guys know, typically you don't have to stay in the hospital when you have blood clots, unless it's something that they can't get rid of, but they give you a shot. You go home with blood thinners, and you're good to go. I couldn't go home because I had lost so much blood during the plastic surgery procedure. The emergency room physician said, let me take your blood. My hemoglobin was a 3.
Oh,
He came back and looked at me and was just standing like this at the door. And he
like,
was
how are
like,
you alive?
that's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
how are you alive right now? Like, how are you standing? How are you talking? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
I'm
you know,
fine, right?
right. I
I'm
was like, just
fine.
get me to feel better.
Right.
Like I'm in pain from the surgery. Like you're telling me I got blood clots. Like, am I gonna
Yeah.
die? Like, what's going on? And um, like I said, later on after that, that's when I went into cardiac arrest. But uh, yeah, I mean, I will say after that, I still did my tarot cards, but after that, I mean, the whole world opened up.
So when you went into cardiac arrest and you came out of it,
Mhm.
did you lose consciousness when you
Yes.
had your
I
heart
will
attack?
say,
Okay.
yeah, I will tell you, I don't remember really anything before that too much. Some of this was told to me, but I just know that the last thing the doctor told me was, I'm going to admit you because you need to get a blood transfusion. And so I think my brain was still kind of like wonky, or maybe I was getting ready to, go into that
Yeah.
cardiac arrest. Because the next thing I knew was I was in a hospital room and getting the transfusion. Um, my family and friends were there, and they told me they came back in the room and they were like, oh, okay. Like, are you good? I'm glad you're okay. Um, but I don't remember speaking to them. Even in some of these accidents, my mom has told me I spoke to her after, and my boyfriend at the time was in the car with me. He's like, yeah, you spoke to me the whole time. Don't remember anything to this day. I don't remember it at all. But I will say, with all these experiences, I'm a little bit hard headed. And so I think my guides had to make it very dramatic for me to get in touch with them. Went to my shaman lady again and was like, girl, guess what happened? Like, I couldn't make this up if I tried.
Right.
And from then on, to be honest, all my clair senses opened up. I mean, I can hear, I can feel, I can see, touch sometimes. Um, I always say like my cards are never wrong because it's not me coming to talk to my clients, right? It's my guides, it's their guides if I'm in touch with them. When it comes to just being able to provide clarity, yeah, I'm able to see that outside perspective. But again, my cards are never wrong. And I truly believe that I was here and put on earth to help people heal. Um, I don't know why I had to go through these extreme experiences, but I probably would have never listened. I probably would have never awoken. I mean, all those experiences that I'm telling you happened in about 4 years. It's a lot of trauma, you
So
know?
do you believe that it was your guides or angels and in conjunction with your soul, your higher self, that was saying, we need to get her attention. She's a tough one. So we're going to keep doing this again and again until she accepts her gifts and starts to use them. You
So
think
I'll be
that's
honest. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, at some point, I do believe that I was allowed to kind of be hurt by certain people, like the friend who had done voodoo on me. I think that that was allowed so that I could learn some things about people, my friendships,
I
and
didn't realize that was a friend.
yes,
Wow, nice friend.
right. Um, but that's the thing. I've always been told I have bad people around me. I
Mm.
had a lot of friends, and still, I'm very blessed with the people I have around me. But there were some people that I thought were cool, and they were not. And that's where I say, like, my intuition, I wasn't listening to it. There came a point in time where I wasn't really in touch with myself, which is why I say being hit in the head, hitting the concrete, I probably would not have been open to an ethereal experience at that time because I wasn't really in touch with myself. I probably would have questioned it. And my guides know that. And I think that once I finally awoke and was like, okay, wait, this is not a coincidence. This is very, like, it's dramatic, but this is not a coincidence, along with all the other things that have ever happened in my life, right? It's not a coincidence.
So
Uh,
how long has it been since your last NDE?
so that was 2023. That was 2023.
And how have you changed anything significant in the way you live your life?
Oh,
Since I mean, okay, I know understand that your clairs came online. Um, but I mean the other stuff. Have you changed your friends, for example?
yes, I have significantly. Um, I think one of the biggest things that I have changed is learning about protection. Because while the church talks about a lot of stuff, right? But I've always kind of said the stuff has to be real, right? Like if there's good, the angels and everything, there's also bad. And the bad is still here out in the world. And how do we protect ourselves from that? Voodoo is real, right? There are people who do voodoo spells. There are people who do Santeria. And, that's good for them, right? I don't classify things, to be honest, as good and bad anymore. I see things very differently. It's just energy, and it either moves or it doesn't, flows or it doesn't. But for the purposes of relating to this society, good and bad, right? And so I said, if the church and if God knows these things are out there, why is the church not teaching us how to protect ourselves from it? And I started to research a lot of those things, learning about religion, learning about Christianity, where it came from, how it became. And I'll save my thoughts for whoever wants to engage in a discussion and debate about that. But I had a lot of times where I did research. Um, I am a data scientist throughout, my day job. And so I typically look at a lot of data. I love to research. I love to get different opinions, different views, and kind of form my own opinion. And so that's where I felt like these experiences were not just random. Um,
No, definitely they were there for you. They were meant for you. And they must have been looking at each other going, how many times are we going to have to knock her out
yeah.
in order to get her attention?
Yes.
Because you were stubborn, but that's okay because you weren't sure what to do with this information because look at how you were raised in the church.
Yeah.
I don't know what denomination that you belong to, but it sounds like they were pretty rigid and strict in terms of how you were to translate or interpret the Bible, interpret God, interpret Jesus.
Yes.
It's this way or you're out.
Right.
So I'm sure that all of that you caused you not so much to be stubborn, but you were still pretty young. And it's hard sometimes to just one day wake up and say, oh, I'm going to denounce everything that I ever learned my entire life up to this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do. Very few people come to that point. A lot of people do have to have experience like you did to finally get there.
Yeah,
And I
and
just,
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
I'm sorry. No,
I'll say
continue.
I'm still going through it. I'm still having those questions. Um, and I know there may be people out there that say, well, you can't be a Christian and also be this. But
Mm.
I always tell people, and I've always said this, no pastor can tell me about God. Like I have my own relationship with him. So you can read the Bible to me. You can preach on Sundays, whatever you want to preach. But how many times are we also hearing about these pastors and priests that have separate lives or do different things that we find out about in the news, right? So I can't truly take my instruction and my life from somebody I don't even know what you do behind closed doors. And we'll never know, right? And I'm not saying I need to, but I'm saying that learn those things for yourself. Trust your intuition. It's not wrong, you know? And yes, if you read some parts of the Bible, when I started realizing that I was psychic, I went back to the Bible and I said, what does the Bible say about psychics? And I wish I had the verse up here, but it talked about gay and lesbians, people who committed adultery and witchcraft and psychics, and they said to stone them. They said to like cast them out of society. And I said, if God is who he is, and you say to cast out these people, how does that make any sense? Like you can't be this all loving wonderful person that you're telling me you are, but just because someone's different we should cast them out. I don't, it didn't make any sense to me. Also in Christianity we have prophets. My mom actually had a friend who was a prophet, which is why I don't really believe a lot of Christian prophets, because I've actually seen it with my own eyes. Now if he's using it for the glory of God and I'm using it to help people, what is truly the difference? And these are questions that again I've had to reconcile with myself. And like you said, I mean, I grew up in this going to church every single Sunday. Every Sunday. Um, at one point I thought I wanted to be a pastor myself. So it's like it's like having an identity crisis almost.
Well, I think those of us who are open-minded go through that,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because you think your beliefs are one way, and then sometimes you wake up and you do say, "Oh my God," and so you do have a bit of a crisis. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
Right. And I've come to terms with it. This is the first time, to be honest, that I've shown my face as Nair. Um,
Yay!
my debut. And I I still struggle sometimes. Like, am I gonna go to hell? Is there a hell? Like what are all these feelings? But when I talk to some of my clients, I mean, I had one the other day tell me um her son had passed away, and I regularly channel her son, and she knows who she is. Hi. I regularly channel him, and she told me that she went back to church because of me. Like she started believing, not necessarily because of me, but what I showed her with my gifts. There are some people I've just had conversations with, and they're so enlightened, and they're so happy that I was there. And I talk to some people like, I'm their girlfriend, and we're just chit chatting away, and I tell them stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, my approach to when I tell people things is a little bit blunt. It's very direct, and not everybody's always ready to hear that, but I've been grateful that everybody that I've talked to has been very receptive and said that I've helped them. And I mean, how is that bad? Just because I'm not in the church. So I will continue to do this work.
Good.
I realize, that those experiences came because I'm able to relate to a lot more people more. And like I said, my gifts have just expounded even more. And every day I'm learning more, seeing more, and just hearing so many things that are being confirmed for me. And yeah, I'm gonna keep on trucking, keep on going.
And hopefully you won't need to almost die in
Right,
order
like
in
can we
order to
leave that in the
keep on
past?
trucking. Yeah, keep on trucking means that she gets it.
Right,
There
right.
was
Like,
there was just one thing that I wanted to clarify that you had mentioned and pointed out so many times, which was your left side.
Right. Good.
So
Good question.
let's bring that back into the situation before we're getting close to the end here. So what is the significance of the left side?
so I actually forget. And I know someone had told me, but I think that's your feminine side,
It
correct?
is. Yeah.
Now I realize again, and I mean, I had already been told this, but I will say it again here. I'm here to help heal women of some sort. I feel
Oh, okay. There's the connection.
yes, and
Okay.
sorry, I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much, Jen, for
It's
bringing it
okay.
up.
It's
There
okay.
is something in me. I have seen many visions of me helping women.
Yeah.
So I have come up with courses, I've come up with knowledge and education to help women specifically. And I know a lot of psychics don't love readings, but I will tell you that's one of my favorite types to do. Because sometimes as women, we do get obsessed with these men and we forget that we are the prize. And so I'm here to knock it back and let you know, like, calm down, like just come on, girl. You don't have to do all this. And so I love the love readings. Like, ask me 50 times, is he cheating? Is he coming back? I love it because I want you to know that you have power and you don't have to be obsessed with him. I mean, you can if you want to, but also remember that be obsessed with you and pour all that energy back into yourself. And yeah, I think that that area is being attacked so much because I know that there is divine work for me to do. I know that there is so much that I am meant to bring to this world. And I've been scared. I've never, as I said, I've never shown my face. I've never really talked about these experiences other than to close friends and family. But yeah, I definitely, I keep forgetting that that's the connection with that. But yeah, I've gotten that message a few times now. And yes, I'm still a little bit stubborn, but I think they know that I don't need to be knocked in the head too much.
Thank
Well,
goodness.
there's no doubt that you have a lot to give. You do have these gifts, and thank goodness you are paying attention to them
Oh,
because as they develop, uh, you will find out more about who who Ner really is, what Ner is really supposed to be doing on this earth in whatever time she has, and how this relates to uh, the the wounds in mothers or women.
yes.
And you may find that that expands and you're healing your feminine side is also healing the male gender.
Yes. They need
So
help.
or or the transgendered or whatever, because I think we so many of us hold, regardless of how we identify, I think many of us hold that pain, you know
Yes.
and I think you were definitely meant to be on this earth to help with that.
Mhm.
Yes. And one thing I want to mention coming soon is my mother wound type of healing. As you mentioned, this isn't just for women or those who identify as men, women. It's really for anybody because we were all born by a mother. Whether your mother was present or not, you had one. Whether you are a mother or not, you're still somebody who has a connection, whether it's an active or a non active one. And sometimes I feel that going back to that, that could be the source of a lot of our issues.
Mm.
And I want to be able to, and we'll continue to try and find methods to help people to heal, to mother themselves. And I'm realizing stuff as I'm talking to you. A lot of these experiences that I had, while I love my mom and she's the best, sometimes when you go to bed at night, you're the only person there. And how do you mother yourself? How do you take care of yourself when it's just you and your thoughts? And so I've had a lot of time to do that. I've had a lot of, these are the things that I tell people are not things I haven't tried before
Mhm.
and been successful with, and still am a work in progress. I'm not perfect at all.
Well,
But
we all are. So
yeah, so I want to share and continue to share my knowledge of self-care and making sure that I am mothering myself, that and shout out to mom, I love her. But
Well said.
I also want to take care of me, and I want other people to know how to do that for themselves, whatever modality that may mean, whatever human being may need that. And so
that's
more,
beautiful.
that's
That's
more
Yes.
beautiful.
coming up soon.
Jennifer, do you want to put her to the question?
I'm
As
going
they,
to. So, Ner, beyond all this amazing information and all the offerings that you have for so many people, what message or insight or piece of wisdom do you have about your NDEs in particular that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Well, I think that I would like to ask my guides that question. I can point to one of my new favorite decks, Wisdom of the Oracle,
Perfect.
and let me find a card for the
I,
color.
I love oracle cards. Any work with angels, I just,
Yes.
I just absolutely love.
So to close out the session, the card I want to choose is, wow. This one says, All That Glitters.
Ah,
Let me tell you what that one means. This is number 16, so it may mean something. And again, this is one of my new favorite decks. I have it virtually, but this is definitely something that resonates with me. So the meaning is a need to see beyond the superficial, the desire to don a mask or dress something up to disguise its true nature, trying to be something you're not, chasing after every sparkly new thing, being mercurial. There's a little bit more, but I'm that's the overall message, and that really resonates with me because I was just living life, right? And I was very successful. I thought I had everything. And my guides were trying to show me there's more. There's something behind things. And a lot of times, you hear the saying material things don't matter. But when you've faced a lot of near death experiences, when you've lost consciousness, you look at life a different way.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll leave with this one. It's a beautiful card.
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah, that is really pretty.
yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much for sharing these great stories. I mean, you bring a new definition to the phrase near death experience. I don't know how much farther you needed to go to actually cut your cord, so to speak, but
Well, now I feel invincible. I mean, look how much I've survived. And I think also that's another takeaway is just you gotta live every day like your last.
boy, that's the truth.
You never know.
And be present. Be present through every second.
Yeah, 100%.
So thank you so much for coming and for sharing, Nur. We appreciate it so much. And to all of our viewers, thanks for tuning in to Souls on Tap. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a drop of wisdom. We'd love for you to share in the comments section any thoughts you have and add any type of healing modalities you'd like us to showcase, because remember, we are here for you. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you on Souls on Tap.